Have you ever noticed how people from different generations can feel like they're running on completely different operating systems? Well, it turns out the decade you were born in might have installed a kind of psychological source code that completely shapes how you see everything. Okay, let's get into this. This quote, man, it just nails the whole idea we're going to explore. It's about this bridge generation, people who are caught between two totally different worlds. They've got one foot in the past, the slow, the real, and one foot in the future, the fast, the digital. And understanding them, well, it explains so much about the shifts we see all around us. So first, let's take a trip back to that old world, a time that, believe it or not, was mostly defined by silence and freedom, a kind of raw, analog life that feels almost like science fiction today. This was a childhood built on a lack of tech and, honestly, a lack of supervision. Just try to picture this scene today. I mean, for a modern parent, this sounds like a nightmare, right? No way to track your kid, no way to call them. You were just gone for hours, and nobody freaked out. Your whole universe was as far as your bike could take you, with pretty much one simple rule: be back before the streetlights turn on. Now, think about what that does to your brain. When you don't have a digital safety net, you have to build an internal one. You're constantly, without even realizing it, learning how to assess risks, how to solve problems on the fly, and just how to be okay with not knowing what's next. You figured out how to navigate the world because, well, you had to. And all those little experiences, they built this voice inside your head. You know the one. Your bike chain pops miles from home. No phone. What do? Well, you get your hands all greasy, you mess with it. Maybe you give up and walk the whole way home. But either way, you solve it. That quiet little belief, that default setting that just says, I'll figure it out, that was learned out there on the street. So where did that grit even come from? Well, you gotta look at the people who raised them. Many of their parents had lived through World War II. They knew what real hardship was. They weren't big on talking about feelings. They were big on surviving. And they passed that quiet, tough as nails, just get it done mindset on to their own kids. And here's the absolute key. Responsibility wasn't something they taught you in a lecture. It was just a fact of life. If something was broken, you learned how to fix it. If a plan went wrong, you made a new one. The fundamental belief wasn't, someone will come and save me. It was, the help is me. You were it. Okay, now let's take a giant leap across that bridge into a completely different reality. A world of nonstop noise, constant connection, where childhood wasn't shaped by silence, but by the glow of a screen. To really wrap your head around this change, get this. The average kid born in the 2000s processes more information in a single day than someone in the 70s might have seen in an entire week. Their brains have been running at 100 miles an hour since they were born. And having that digital fire hose aimed at you 24/7, it has real consequences. Sure, it makes this generation incredibly smart and fast, but it also leads to being mentally exhausted and just overwhelmed. Attention spans get shorter and shorter. And that constant invisible pressure from social media to always be on, it never stops. The brain never really gets a chance to be quiet. This chart just lays it out so perfectly. In the 70s, freedom was your bike and a promise to be home. Today, it's managed with a phone and a GPS app. Back then, if something broke, you tried to repair it. Now, it's usually easier and cheaper to just replace it. You used to wait all week for your favorite show. Now you can binge the whole thing in one night. It's the world of patience versus the world of right now. So this brings us right back to that special group of people. The ones who remember the before, but are living fully in the after. They're the bridge generation, with one foot planted firmly in each of these completely different worlds. Here's probably the best way to define them. They are the last generation that has a living memory of what the world was like with no internet. They remember being bored, they remember what true silence felt like. But they also had a front row seat to watch the digital tsunami come in and change absolutely everything. You know, maybe this is why they can seem a little more grounded. Their sense of who they were wasn't built on likes or shares or followers, that constant external validation. It was forged by real-world problems, by the internal validation you get when you actually figure something out on your own. It's a confidence that comes from experience, not from performance. So all of this, it really boils down to one big question. In a world that's changed so much, so fast, what is it that actually makes a person strong? Is it about the tools we have access to, or is it about the challenges we have to face without them?
And I think this quote really just says it all. Real, lasting strength isn't something you can read in a book or watch in a tutorial. It's not handed to you, it's earned. It comes from being tested by the real world, by facing a problem that doesn't have an easy answer, and just finding your own way through.
And so, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Every generation has its own battles, right? The analog world had its real physical dangers and a total lack of safety nets. The digital world has this intense mental pressure and an overload that never ends. So the question is, which generation do you think actually had it harder, and why?